what was it? Absolutely fine. There's one person watching at the moment. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our last online tasting of 2023. And when I say the last of the StreamYard tastings, we are going to be doing another tasting on the 22nd of November, very special tasting with Glenfarclas, with 5 family casks, and Glenfarclas will be the hosts, and in this tasting we won't be using StreamYard, we'll be using Zoom. So they'll be controlling it. So we'll give you more information nearer the time. As soon as they've given us the information of the whiskies that we're doing, we'll get the whiskies in, get the kits made up, and send the kits out as soon as we can. Maximum of 35 people for this one. It's going to be unique, it's going to be rare, it's going to be good fun. The next tasting 2025 will be Lochlee, Burns Night, on Friday before Burns Night. We'll be doing a tasting live at Dumfries, and the following Friday at the end of January we're doing an online tasting with Lochlee. So we're just going to swap it over. So the live one's before Burns Night and the online one will be after. We've already got 2 or 3 companies lined up wanting to do tastings in March and April and May. So bear with us. If you haven't rejoined your membership, please rejoin so that you can get the benefit from 1st of January onwards. And of course, being a member in January and February, you get first dibs at our festival tickets. So we've got a very exciting tasting lined up tonight. 8 fantastic whiskies. We've tried 6 of them. We haven't tried the last 2. But it gives me great pleasure to introduce Morgan, who will be our host this evening, talking us through the whiskies, and he's actually live at the distillery when we're talking. So that's another rare thing for us as well. So if you're there, good evening.
Good evening, how are you doing?
So far so good. Well, that's 4 minutes into it and it's working so far.
Nice. Watch this space.
Yeah. So we just have to say, I'll just check the list. We never actually sent you a list of what we're doing, but everybody has a list like this with the whiskies and special prices on it, and everybody can order online. But the only one we can't do, obviously, as discussed, was your special Yorkshire Day whiskey, which you can talk about at the time, because that's obviously from the distillery. And the last one, the sherry one, is pre-orders only because it's not actually bottled yet. Again, Morgan can talk you through that. We had a great pleasure when we were on holiday, when we were in Scarborough for a week, that Morgan had organised for myself and Karen and Ranald to go and visit the distillery. Not only the distillery, but the brewery up the road as well, which was absolutely great. The story that you have is fantastic. A great end to our holidays on the Friday. So thank you for organising that. It was absolutely brilliant. The setup of the distillery and the brewery, it's great. So no further ado, I'll hand it over to yourself, and you can talk us through the whiskies and I'll just take it from there. Anybody, any comments, please put them up. It does help us to interact with everybody. Any questions? You see, we were in Scarborough for a holiday for a week, and we're certainly going to go back to Yorkshire for another holiday. It's a fantastic place. It really is. It's great. And the sun came out for us that week.
Rare. It's a rarity. Yeah, it's not. I'd love to tell you it's sunny today.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it's a bit, as we say in Scotland, it's a bit dreich in here.
Yeah.
In here at the moment, it's dreich. Yeah, we're doomed. We're doomed. I think the weather's going to be pretty bad over the next 2 or 3 days down here. We're bracing ourselves. And anyway, it is Scotland and it is October, so there you go. So we'll hand it over to you, and if you want, just give me a shout and I'll pop on.
Yeah, lovely.
Yep.
Good evening, everybody. I hope everyone's cool. I hope everyone can hear me well and see relatively well. My objective tonight is to give you guys an insight into us as a distillery, where we came from, what we do, why we do it. We've got 8 drams. We've got 2 special release and a pre-release whiskey this evening as well, which isn't released until mid-November. And I've got a couple of little technical bits we're going to challenge Brian and Karen with. But Brian told me quite firmly, make sure that you get yourselves a dram before we talk too much. So to introduce the first whiskey for you, I'll tell you a little bit about our background, but whilst you're enjoying the first whiskey, this is our... I should also tell you I can't drink it. I can taste it and spit it out, but unfortunately I live about an hour away from here, so I'm driving back after this. This is our Filey Bay flagship. Hope you can see that there. Turn it. There you go. Thank you very much. Very, very helpful little pop-up picture there. This is our house core whiskey. This is our flag in the sand. Light, sweet, and fruity is very much the style. I'll tell you how we create that style as the evening develops. Fully matured in first fill bourbon casks. We use Old Forester whiskey casks. 98% of what we fill is ex-bourbon, and we've got a little bit of footage from the warehouse later, so we can show you some of the casks we use too. But this is our house whiskey. It's very much the foundation from which the rest of the whiskies, primarily the whiskies we're going to be tasting this evening, is built. Yeah, it's a lovely whiskey. You can see it's won quite a few medals so far. We were very close to getting a gold at the IWSC for this, but silver's what we had to settle for this time. So if everybody has a taste of that when they're ready, have a sniff, have a taste. Any tasting notes, good or bad, I will do my utmost to read them wherever I can. And in a nutshell, we're a field to bottle whiskey distillery. We're located in Yorkshire. That lovely little video at the start shows a bit about where we are. We're about 3 miles from the coast here. We've been growing barley here since 1945 as a family. So we've got a 600-acre farm, grows barley. And that barley was malted locally in Bridlington and sent off to make booze elsewhere. Jenny will detail this a bit more in a minute. We then opened a brewery, which is what Brian mentioned. The brewery is about 2.5 miles up the hill. That's called Woldtop Brewery. That was opened in 2003. That was all a diversification project from growing barley and having a natural water source on the farm. We don't have mains water on the farm. So we got lots of barley, lots of water. Beer was an obvious way to continue making money. So 2003, we opened the brewery. 2016, we opened the distillery. I'll talk more about production. I've got a little footage of the stills I'll show you in a bit. 2019 was our first release. 2020, obviously, COVID. And so the flagship's very much in the same format as that first release back in 2019. It's a little bit older now. It's closer to 5.5 years old. But that style is very much what we're trying to produce. So I hope everyone's enjoying that. If Karen wouldn't mind putting on the video of Jenny at the farm, Jenny is the founder's daughter. She's our marketing director, and she can tell you a little bit about where we came from and actually transparently talk about why farming barley is important to us and what that means to us as a distillery. So if Karen could pop that little video on, I'd really appreciate it.
Jenny, thanks so much for joining the call today and the tasting with Morgan. So here I am standing in a field, ready to talk to you about how, why and what we farm. Talk to you now a little bit about how the distillery got going. So to do that, I'm going to have to rewind all the way back to the early 2000s when farming was in a really tricky position. Lots of different world events and different things were happening, and that was having a real impact on British agriculture. So farmers were looking at lots of different ways to diversify. There was a time of lots of farm shops being created, butchers, holiday cottages, golf courses, all those sorts of things. And actually Tom and Jill, my parents, who were farming and running the farm at that time, worked together with some family friends from the village, farmers from the nearby village, and they said, we've got barley, we've got water, all we need to do to make beer is add some hops and some yeast. And that's what they did. They got a DEFRA grant, and this is in a nutshell, but they set up the Woldtop Brewery in 2003. Okay, so then we fast forward another 10 years, Woldtop Brewery is going really well. There's been a huge craft beer boom. There's a real foodie movement. People are really interested in the authenticity, the provenance of their food and their drink, and they want to know more about where that's come from and the story and the people behind it. So in 2010, 2011, Tom was having a conversation with the local maltsters where we sent all our barley to get malted for the beer. And then he said, what happens to the surplus barley that comes from our farm? And the maltster said, well, it goes up to Scotland to make single malt whiskey. And Tom, ever a Yorkshire farmer with short arms and long pockets, said, well, that's no good. Why can't we just keep it here in Yorkshire? So he spoke to another friend, his best friend Dave, from down in Burton Fleming. And they put their heads together over a pint and a couple of games of rugby and said, well, okay, we've got barley, we've got water now, we've got beer, which actually making beer is very similar to the first stage of making whiskey. Kind of what's stopping us. They did some due diligence. They looked into why no one was making Yorkshire single malt whiskey at that time. And they put a lot of work in, and over the next 3 or 4 years, built the distillery, worked with Dr. Jim Swan, and the idea of Yorkshire single malt whiskey and Spirit of Yorkshire Distillery properly came into being. So whiskey is made from using barley. Now, to get barley to turn it into malt, you've got to grow the stuff. And the Yorkshire Wolds, where we are right now, is a brilliant area for growing malting barley. It's chalky soil, it's really free draining, and that's what barley likes. Barley doesn't like getting its feet wet. It likes it when the water drains straight away. So as you can see behind me, there's lots of fields in the background, and they're predominantly full of fields of barley, of wheat, and a little bit of oilseed rape too. Holding a head of barley. So we know that it's barley because you've got all these lovely awns. So when you see it rippling through the fields, it looks like it's kind of a sea moving along. So that's quite different from wheat. Wheat's much taller, it looks a little bit bluer, barley's much greener and has that movement within it too. Yeah. So we're farming in a slightly different way from how you might normally see around the UK at the moment. Rather than cultivating and ploughing the soil and turning over the soil in the fields after each harvest, what we do is after harvest, the combine chops the straw behind it and leaves that on the ground, and we leave it there and it creates this kind of mulchy humus, and from there we'll direct drill usually a cover crop straight into it. We don't turn the soil over, we're just essentially like running kind of fingers through and bobbing the seeds in there. That cover crop will grow up over the winter and is full of really useful plants like Phacelia and clover and radishes. The radishes have long tap roots and that helps with kind of soil aeration. The Phacelia and the Phacelia and the clover are really good for catching nitrogen and holding in carbon, and they bring all of those good things in. And then at the end of the year, into the spring, they freeze, they get rolled down, and they create again this another layer of like mulchy humus. And into that we plant our spring barley, directly planted again. So we're never turning over the soil, we're keeping all that carbon locked up, we're keeping all that nitrogen in, we're keeping all the good stuff, lots of earthworms in the soil, really nice and aerated. It's great for drainage, it's great for growing barley, and it's really good for keeping the carbon in as well.
And that's it. If you could put me back on the screen, please, Karen, I'd appreciate it. I don't know if anyone's had a taste. Well, I assume people have tasted the flagship so far. Any thoughts, any comments would be more than welcome if you're interested. I've just tasted it. I still think it's nice, light, fruity, lots of caramel, vanilla flavours. What are your thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, good one. Yeah, I mean, you can drink that one quite neat.
Yeah.
I don't think that needs water at all.
No. And
it's just as you say, it's very light, very creamy. Maybe a hint of vanilla there, but I mean, it's just so easy to drink.
Yeah.
Dangerous, I would say, to some extent. I think we said that when we. Yeah, perfect. I can't say perfect with porridge. We call it a breakfast dram in Scotland, but.
Yeah. But, speaking to a man with a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, a breakfast dram is certainly a thing. You know, that's quite a regular thing.
That's what you would need to get you through breakfast.
Yeah, mate. Yeah. Yeah, it's tasty.
And did he say it was who's bourbon cask? Did he say Forester?
Yeah, Old Forester. Yeah. We've got some.
Is that 100%?
Yeah, in this example, yeah, solely. So, I mean, 98% of what we fill. Joe, we've got a video of Joe at the warehouse later on down the line if we want to watch that. But yeah, 98% of what we fill is first fill bourbon. We're filling about 14 casks a week. We then re-rack a lot of it to do the finishes, but with the flagship, we want to keep that nice, light. Yeah, thanks, John. Light, nice, fruity, easy going whiskey. And that style very much seems true throughout the core releases, being the flagship and the finishes. When we start experimenting with some sherry casks and we do some special release stuff, that's when we can use the big heavier hoggies and butts and the likes to make some darker styles.
Have you seen the price of casks changing over the last few years?
Yeah.
Because of demand?
Yeah, we have, yeah. I mean, Jenny mentioned Jim Swan. Jim was in from early doors, really. The Forsyth stills, which I'll walk you guys through in a bit, they had a 5-year waiting list when we first spoke to them. And Jim made that wait list go away, which is quite cool. But the usage of STR casks for us was a bit of perhaps for a lot of distilleries starting up at that time, STR was a nice way to fill the gap with the shortage of bourbon casks at the time. But we've got, I'm sure at some point we'll have the conversation about English whiskey as a whole and that subject matter. There's quite a few distillers who I've spoken to recently who we see at shows and stuff who say, "Are you struggling with casks? Are you struggling to get a hold of casks?" They're more money than they were, that's certain. But when you've got a relationship with Brown-Forman that's, going to be, well, it's over 8 years now, probably 10 years realistically since David actually first met them. You've got that constant influx, so it's nice to have that solidity, I suppose. It means we can create a consistent whiskey.
Yep.
I think it's tasty. I think it's a nice, just a nice everyday whiskey. Doesn't do anything too crazy. Just ticks boxes. And nothing's broken so far.
Yeah, you'll be coming to our festival as well in November.
Yeah, yours truly. Yeah. Me and our brand ambassador Amy, we're gearing up for it. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I did 2 days in Edinburgh this week, and a lot of people I spoke to were like, "Are you going to be there?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're going to be there." Quite a good one. It's looking forward to pouring some drums for you guys. It'll be a good show.
Well, it's the fastest day of the year for us. I mean, it's incredible. From we set it up on the Friday, and we go in at 9 o'clock on the Saturday, and before you can blink, it's 5 o'clock on the Saturday. He went through the 9 hours, and it just goes past enough, and everybody's so happy. You'll see yourself; it's great. We've got 40. Last year we had 39 exhibitors. This year we've got 44.
Right, cool. Running out of space then. Hot spots.
Yeah. And you're in one of the prime spots, so as everybody walks in the door, they'll be seeing your stand as well, so they can welcome all the 600-700 people as they come in.
There's not. The truth is, we do as many shows as we can across the country. We're a small team. There's only David, the founder, Jenny, who was just on the video, then there's myself, Joe, Amy, Steve, and we've got a team here who we've got a head distiller, we've got the team in the coffee shop, we've got the team who do the tours, and they're very capable. But when it comes to like national shows and international shows, that's us. But there's not a better way of talking and sharing your story than pouring whiskey for people. That's the power of this evening. Yeah, it's a liquid that does the talking. Exactly. You can talk about whatever you want and sell it as best as you can, but if it doesn't taste very good, you know. That's right. There's lots of things you could describe it as, actually. Yeah.
No, great start to the evening.
Nice, great. So, if we're happy to move on to whiskey number 2, I'd be delighted to tell you guys about it. Is that okay, Brian?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm treating you as the ringmaster. That's
all right. I've been called many a thing, not a ringmaster, but I'll take it.
Well, that's what came to my head at that point, and that's what you're going to be. Yeah. There's lots of terms I could have used to describe somebody who told me what to do. Ringmaster's where I went. So, IPA finish, batch 2. This is our IPA finish. Can you see that? I hope you can see that there. Indian Pale Ale finish. So, I'll pour myself a dram. I hope you guys and gals are all pouring yourself a dram as well. You'll notice that I'm leaning down after every mouthful. That's because I am spitting it into a bucket down there, I'm afraid to say. But I'd really like to taste along with people. and I'm well fed, and 17.5 stone, so I don't think it'll be putting me too far. So, IPA finish. Now, Jenny mentioned in the video that we're a field to bottle whiskey distillery. Started life growing barley in 1945. That was her great granddad. Her granddad ran it as a farm. Her dad opened the brewery, Tom, who's one of the two founders of the distillery, and then Tom and Dave together came together for the whiskey. But we still produce. Welltop Brewery still exists. It still makes beer. I've been in hospitality for 15 years or so, if not longer, before this. Ran restaurants and bars, from your local boozers to Michelin star restaurants. And the one thing I would say about Welltop is they make very good traditional beer very well. It was my third interview for the role that I learnt about the Welltop connection, and it actually helped solidify my, well, I wouldn't quite say desperation, but want for the role of UK sales manager, because I've always drank Welltop beer. I've fought hand over fist to get Welltop into pubs and restaurants that I've ran before. So the IPA finish about the whiskey, the deal of this is we make whiskey and we make beer. The brewery, as I've said, is 2.5 miles that way. The wash for our whiskey is produced 2.5 miles that way. That's one of the things that we stop us being able to call ourselves single malt if we were in Scotland, but we're not, we're in Yorkshire. So with the wash, we make an 8% wash, relatively long fermentation, minimum 72 hours. So we're trying to create those lovely ester and ethers, lovely fruity flavors. And that's 20,000 litres that we produce per week. But with the IPA, we produce a beer called Scarborough Fair. It's a 6% IPA. It's not desperately hoppy. It's hoppy, but it's not like the Californian passion fruit lemonade styles. It's more, let's say, of a British style IPA. It's delicious. What we're doing, first stage of this production, is we're maturing Scarborough Fair IPA in the ex-flagship whiskey casks. Yeah, thanks, Ian. Yeah, unusual, but in a good way. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it is unusual, and it's an unusual process, and we're in an unusual but quite privileged position that we have a brewery and we have a distillery. So, as I was saying, we fill our whiskey casks with the IPA. The beer sits in the casks for a period of time. I want to say it's about 9 months, but I'm scared that I might be wrong. So we then empty the casks of beer, and then we can refill the casks with bourbon matured whiskey, which is where the whiskey can sit for a further 5 months to create the IPA finish. So we're effectively producing two products. We're producing whiskey matured IPA to then produce an IPA finished whiskey, if that makes sense to everybody. As I say, this is a bold claim, and I might be wrong, but I don't think there's any other distillery that can tell you that they farm all their own barley and that they make beer with it and they make whiskey with it, and then they can do the cask sharing in this fashion. And I know Glenfiddich made an IPA finish, but I'm sure we'll all know that their scale isn't quite feasible. Lovely. Thank you, Mel. Yeah, very smooth. For me, it's been a while since I've tasted it, actually. Give me a sec. I know what I think it's going to taste like, but yeah, the IPA is there, yeah. I think the first thing that I always notice when I taste IPA finish, particularly after flagship, is it's drier. It doesn't have that, in a good way, it doesn't have that rich creaminess that the flagship has. It's got more of a dry, almost effervescence on the palate. It's got a almost sherbety lemon, but there's a biscuit dryness as well. There's a bit of brioche in there. There's like a bready. I think people forget that hops, well, beer, the hops are added to beer to add a nose and to add a floral perfume, but also to dry it out. And so when you're using the casks in this fashion, what happens to the beer is incredible. The beer goes in citrusy and comes out creamy. It's like vanilla ice cream beer. I drank 2 on an empty stomach. It's also a lot stronger. It's 8.5% the beer after it's been in the casks for the 9 months. So the beer changes dramatically. And then when we refill the casks with whiskey, I think it just gives it I think like a citric tang sherbetiness, and there is a hoppiness to it, but it's different for a 5-month finish. Effectively, I think it's incredibly different. We have done this later on. We've got another beer cask which we'll talk about too. But with the IPA, this is my favourite of the 2 beer finishes we've done in style, because I think it's very unusual.
Yeah, I was just saying to Karen, there was an aroma and a taste and I couldn't place it. And I was saying, oh, digestives, and then you went biscuity.
Yeah.
At the sort of same time, that sort of cereal note to it. Again, it's light, and that you've got that fruity hint that it's just so easy to drink.
Well, when you're a non-age statement, non-Scotch, you haven't got very far to hide.
No.
Easy drinking is accessibility is the word, and I mean that in the best way possible. People say, well, when Jim came in, I wasn't here, but when Jim came in, he said, what style of whiskey do you want to make? And we said light, sweet and fruity. That's the objective. And obviously that's the style that Jim's associated with. But for me, you hit a broader audience. More people can find this a regular drinking whiskey. And that's what we're trying to do, get as many people to taste it as possible,
And did batch 1 differ much from batch 2?
A little bit.
Yeah, just minimal.
Yeah, a little bit. It's a good question. It relates to all of the batch numbers, actually. The reason we put a batch number on the bottle is because they are different. They are different whiskies, from batch to batch. Batch 1, there was... You're testing me, Brian. There was a difference in maturation. I'm pretty sure. Well, it was certainly younger in the bourbon casks as we were younger, but I think it was slightly longer. I think it was slightly longer in the IPA casks, but the IPA was in the casks less time also. So yeah, definitely different. There's another reason we have difference, and it's got my hands confused. It's this thing behind me as well, and the usage of that, which I'll talk about in a bit when we try and move over to the phone, so I can give you guys a tour of the stills. We'll see how that goes. That's the plan. Let's see how that works out. Yeah, but yeah, the batch 1 got it got a Master's Medal at the Spirits Business. It got an I think batch 1 got an IWSC bronze, and this got an IWSC silver. It got 94 points, so that's 1 off a gold, which is just annoying. But I mean, I'm delighted with it nevertheless.
How many bottles in a batch then?
Of this, less. Of this one, less. Of the IPA, we did a port finish a couple of years ago as well. The IPA, I want to say 3 to 4K, so not a great deal on the scale of things.
No.
Whereas with the Moscatel and the STR, you're looking at 6K batches. And with the flagship, we're doing a bit of fractional marrying with the flagship. So we're producing 6,000 bottles at a time. But the reason the flagship hasn't got a batch number on it is that whenever we do that, we're only bottling a large percentage, but a percentage nevertheless of what we've vatted. So next time, a little bit like a Solera, we're topping up the last...
It's like a Solera system.
Yeah, but without the oak. It's oak into a tank to marry. The idea of the flagship is it's on a constant trajectory like this to getting older, but we're trying to create a consistency through that. Whereas with the IPAs, the Moscatels, the STRs, there's a reason to celebrate the nuances between batch numbers, and that's why we put a batch number on the bottle. I think it's quite a nice thing.
Yeah, great.
I think it's hard. It's hard to say which is favourite. When I do a show of hands, if we were all sat in a room or presenting in a room at this point, I'd get a show of hands, and it generally splits the room between the flagship and the IPA. I think they're different whiskies for different days. For me, the IPA is the best whiskey we do for a summer's day, just as the sun's setting. It's just got that freshness to it, We're moving quite quick, but I'm happy to move on to Moscatel if you're happy to move on to Moscatel.
Absolutely. You're spotting time, absolutely, to the second, actually. Well done. Yep.
Good. Good. We'll wait for something to blow up because it might happen.
Oh, it's going to... Morgan, is going too well at the minute. Something's going to go.
I know.
All of a sudden, there was nothing.
You should have seen me sweating about
I know.
Carting this cask up the stairs with this chair over my shoulder, like running around. I'm in here on my own as well. There's two padlocks to get in, and there's obviously all of the heavy locks to get into the distillery, but the padlocks are a nightmare getting in. I thought, oh my God, we're going to have to film this in the car park. I'd have been in serious trouble.
Yeah, we can move on to number 3. Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah. So this is a nice little sweetie for you all. This is our Muscatel finish. Muscatel being a sweet grape related to Muscat, Muscadet. Muscatel's the same derivative. It's grown in Spain. All of our European oak at least, is sourced from Jose Miguel Martin in Spain. That was another Jim Swan connection. For those who aren't familiar, I can't name you all the names, but I know that he sells casks to Glenturret, which is a pretty good start. In fact, there was a day when we got delivered casks from them, and for some reason, the delivery guy had put Glenturret's casks on after hours. So we had to get all the Glenturret casks off the back of this container to get ours out and then put the Glenturret ones back on. And I said to Joe, who's on a video later on, who's our whiskey director, we should just get a Sharpie and just write, Filey Bay was here on the top of the cask. But yeah, all of our casks are from Jose Martin Miguel. And the Muscatel finish is, well, it's a finish in ex-Muscatel sherry hogshead casks. So, for those who aren't familiar, the definition of sherry is a wine that's been fortified in cask in the Jerez 3s and in the Triangle in Spain, and that's what this is. They're certified sherry casks. We only use full-size oak barrels, flicking back onto the English bit a little bit. Some other distilleries might be experimenting with other woods, but we just fill oak. I think the terminology we use is respecting tradition whilst doing things our own way. So only full-size oak barrels are used in our warehouse. But the Muscatel is bourbon matured, which you're getting a theme for now. Hence, I said we fill 98% bourbon casks. It's bourbon matured for 4, 5, 5.5 years, there or thereabouts. And then we're re-racking into the Muscatel sherry hogsheads, which is where it sits for a minimum of 6 months. But I know that on this example, and it's another example of the batch number process, in the batch 4 of this release, we got some of it that's 2-year matured in Muscatel, 2-year finished in Muscatel, I should say. We'll just to liven it up a little bit. So much more Muscatel influence in this than batch 3 and batch 2. I'll let you have a taste, and I'll have a taste too. Sadly, spit it into my bucket. On the nose, it's up top. It's quite aggressive, actually, right at the top of the glass. I think with wine casks, particularly Muscatel casks, there's a tang. But it's got that lovely honey nose, and there's like a tangerine marmaladiness there as well. And it continues on the palate.
There is a richer sort of sweetness to this one, obviously because of the cask.
It's got that rich, more oily mouthfeel.
Yeah,
A little bit thicker.
Same strength, but it's got that sort of heavy, I don't know, slightly heavier, sort of longer aftertaste to it, maybe. Not so much heavier,
I think it's got a longer aftertaste. I mean, it's still going for me now, right at the back of the palate.
I haven't added any water to it, but you can still at the side of the mouth, you can still feel it.
In this area,
yeah.
It's honeyed, and that honey lingers. It's kind of got that beeswaxy honeyness to it. Not quite diluting beeswax, but it's got that rich waxiness. But then there's a citric note as well. It's not, don't get me wrong, I love the big heavy PX cask as much as an ex-whiskey drinker, but I think, and when we've got some PX matured stuff coming up later, partially at least, but with the Muscatel you've got a lighter sherry style. It's a nice whiskey for all seasons, let's say. It's not necessarily a fireplace sherry cask finish. It's got a little bit more freshness to it, which I quite enjoy. Quite appreciate it, actually. It's nice to taste it again. Right, should we do it? Should we move over onto the phone and see if we can make it work?
Well, go on. Everything's,
Right,
everything's went right so far, so let's go.
I don't know. This is where I don't know whether I should have waited another 2 drams when everyone's just a little bit more.
Is this the time for a commercial break?
Right, so I'll show you my pieces of kit. I haven't shown you this yet. This is we call this a dongle. It's pretty cool. And what this does is you put your phone into it and it holds it in a still position as I walk you around the stills. It's very cool, but there's a chance it might not work. So I'm just going to put my phone in and we'll see how we get on. And then what I'm going to do is join the call on my phone. And then I will, hopefully, if this works flawlessly, that's it. I'm never doing another video call again. Enter studio. I'll turn on that. I will turn the sound down.
Oh, we've got a picture.
And hopefully you can hear me.
I can hear you, yeah. Oh, just take me off then.
And hopefully you can see what I'm showing you. I am now assuming that you can, because I can't hear you back, so that's that. I'm just going to walk you around the stills.
Yeah, we can hear you and see you quite clearly.
Hey, this is working. You have to see one part of me looking a bit awkward and then another part of me, but right, I'll show you. So these are our stills. They are, I'm going to step back a little bit, they are 5,000 and 3,500 litres respectively. So this is our wash still. So I've mentioned we've got, can you hear me okay still?
Yeah. Yep.
We can't hear
Cool.
you very well.
I'll just stop stressing.
So, you're fading away in the background, but...
Well, if it's easier to do, let me try this then. If I mute this one. Mute. How's that? How's that better? I'm scared you can't hear me now. Looks good. Technology is marvelous. Thanks.
Yeah, you're absolutely fine.
We're good.
Great.
Right. So we get 20,000 litres of wash produced a week up at the brewery. Now it's important to clarify on that front. We produce our wash at the brewery. We don't get a brewery to make our wash for us. We own the brewery. Well, we opened the brewery in 2003. It's the same barley, the same water, the same farm. So we're not outsourcing the wash production. We control it, but it comes down to the distillery in 10,000 litre format on a Monday and a Thursday, and from there we distill. So our wash still takes 5,000 litres. As we go up to the line arm, so quite a nice, low, steady distillation process, then into our cooler, and then across into our spirit safe, which is normally a lot brighter. But this thing has been wrapped with a blanket by me tonight to stop it being too glaring. And that wash is produced from 8% to 20% low wines. We're producing about 1,200 litres from 5,000 litres of wash. So we get 1,200 litres of low wines. And that wash process is done every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday currently. And then next to it, we've got our spirit still, 3,500 litre spirit still. And everything I'm showing you now is quite traditional. So again, to yesterday's wash is popped into here with yesterday's feints and foreshots, and then we're distilling that. Nice hot copper coils inside there, heating up the low wines, and then taking them, and then we're distilling along the top here into our line arm, skipping past that bit because I'll show you more of that in a minute. And then we've got our spirit receiving safe, where we can switch over from feints back to center cut and then back to the end. Now this part here, for everyone's benefit, is the bit that's a little bit less usual to see in a distillery, particularly in a Scottish whisky distillery. But this is what we describe as our rectifying column. Now you'll notice that I don't call this a column still. It's not a still, it has a heat, hasn't got its own heat source, it doesn't run continuously. It effectively acts as an extension of that. But it's actually, if I step back, try not to fall down the stairs, it's actually standing next to it, if everybody can see that. So the idea of this is when we force our spirit to go through the spirit still, and then at the top here, we redirect it to then get pushed through this extra 4 plates of copper. Two things are happening, really. The spirit's doing a lot more work to get right up this tube, and it's also obviously getting a lot more copper contact. So what we're doing in this example is producing a lighter, fruitier new make spirit. So if we're not using the rectifying column, we're producing 73% new make solely through this bad boy. If we're pushing it through the pot still and in turn effectively through the extension through what could even easily be described as a longer neck, you're creating an 86% new make spirit. So for 6 months of the year, everything we produce is solely pot distilled. And then 6 months later, we switch it over and everything is pot distilled, but then it also spends a little bit more time in our rectifying column to produce a lighter, fruitier spirit. If you speak to Joe, who's our whiskey director, one of the things he often says is it's good to have options in whiskey. And this gives us options. This means that we mature, basically we cut both of those spirits to 63.5. They get matured separately. And when it comes to making a batch of single malt, we can have 2 options. We can have pot distilled bourbon casks, and then we can have column rectified bourbon casks. But I think it's important to clarify that everything we produce is double pot distilled. Just some of it gets pushed through this to add that little bit lighter, fruitier, more floral new make spirit. If that makes sense to everybody. And to be honest, I am blown away by the fact that this has entirely worked. And at this stage, I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to turn this off and you probably stop hearing me. Give us a sec.
I think, yeah.
I'm back.
Yep. Well, yep.
Magically.
Well done. I don't know what the problem was. You were panicking. That was perfect.
Was it good? Well, the difficulty is these things, is flicking these from there to there. That's not that was a challenge there, but it all seemed to have worked out all right.
No, that was. We've never had that before.
Well,
seamless, Karen said. It was seamless. There you go. Mrs. Gibson is giving you a thumbs up. That doesn't happen very often. Take a note, Morgan. You got a thumbs up for Mrs. Gibson. Okay. No,
it's good. Well, the truth is with Drambusters, with you guys, you guys, we're as I repeat, we're a relatively small, well, a very small, but relatively unknown single malt whiskey, and we're grafting. We're working really hard to grow what we do. But when I had a chance to do a tasting with you guys, and you kindly said, Brian, are you sure you don't want to just do this from your house? And I could have sit in my house, and to be honest, I'd have been happily drinking all these whiskies alongside. But what I wanted to do was show you guys what we do and how we do it, and really give you as much insight as I can from a video call. So as effortful as that was, as nerve-wracking as that was, I wanted to give you guys a chance to see that we're a caliber distillery. We care about what we do. We don't cut corners. We're not rushing anything. We're trying to make the best single malt whiskey with our own barley that we can. And so that was a chance to do so.
Yeah, I think the fact that we have been there and we've seen it, and when you go to some of the other distilleries, they're huge, obviously. And when you go to your distillery, it's in this one compact area. Yeah. Where everything is basically hands-on. You can touch everything within about 30 seconds to a minute of everything. It's quite unique, and the fact that the mash is coming down as well. I don't know if there's any other distillery has that.
Well, I couldn't tell you because there's quite a lot of new distilleries popping up left, right, and centre on a regular basis at the moment, as we both know. But I think it's one of them things, in a world south of the border that's not governed by the SWA, who are monitoring correctly and making sure. Thank you very much, Jim. That's good to hear. That's really nice. But yeah, as we're not governed, so there's less strictness as to what you can do in this country with whiskey at the moment, at least. So some people are trying different things. Some people are getting other people to make the wash. I think the thing for us as a distillery is that we are real control freaks, although it's a very small production, as you can say, as I've mentioned, 80,000 litres of pure alcohol. a year, 14 casks a week, so relatively small production compared to the big boys, obviously. But from farming the barley ourselves entirely, as Jenny told you, to getting it malted locally in Buntons, and they close the malting floor for us, so that it's our malt that's returning to us from our farm. The mashing is done at the brewery, the wash is done at the brewery, with us dictating exactly what we require and how we're going to do it. And then distillation, cask filling, maturation, decanting of casks, bottling, all done here. That's all done. I mean, the bottling line's like there. So we want to control everything, really, to ensure that we've got the best whiskey we can make with what we've got around us. Donna Pass Whisky. Hiya, I like the name. Again, are we happy to move on to the fourth dram, Brian?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's my favourite of the finishes, if that helps you out. So this is our STR finish. I'll get the label the wrong way around. This is a shaved, toasted, and recharred Rioja finish. So STR casks, Jim Swan, so some other distilleries Jim Swan had involvement with: McNean, Lindor's Abbey, Cavalan, Kilhoman, Penderyn, Milk and Honey. I'm sure there's others. I don't want to guess any others because they're the ones I'm certain of. But STR casks is the thing that he did. He brought STR casks into the world of whiskey, and STR casks are a really good thing. I'll be honest, I've tasted some, word this carefully, I've tasted some STR cask whiskey that I've not enjoyed previously, but never anything that we've produced here at Filey Bay. And I think as a cask style, if used well, it's one of the best cask styles to use. So for those who aren't familiar, we're getting an ex-barrique. For those, if I quickly turn this is a ex-bourbon barrique here. We get STR Rioja. And what we're doing, what Martin Miguel's doing in accuracy is taking the top and the bottom off the cask, and they're shaving the interior of the barrel, shaving away the char by about 4 or 5 mil. They're toasting and re-charring the interior of the ex-Rioja red wine barrel. And the objective of that, will there be a flagship made with the oldest casks in the future with an age statement? Any chance there'll be a flagship made with your oldest casks in the future with an age statement? Yes. Flagship's always getting older. Will it be an age statement? I don't know. That's not my decision. Does it need it? Questionable. But right now, the average age of the flagship is 5.5. The youngest liquid in it, I want to say, is 4.5. So, it's a combination of casks ranging from 4.5 up to 6.5 years old. Based on the production we're doing, it's going to be a while before we have enough stock. We've got 4,500 casks in maturation at the warehouse, but it's a long time before we've got enough old stock to continue to put out age statement whiskey. So, yes, there's a potential we'll have an age statement flagship in the future, but I think it's a good 10 years away yet, to be honest with you, Donna Pass. But back to STR. So we've shaved, we've toasted, and we've recharred the interior of the barrel. The idea of it is we're exposing the wood soak, the red wine soak into the barrels, but we're preventing the tannin from overpowering the whiskey, and we're not making a purple whiskey. It's darker, as you can see. If I put that next to the flagship for you, it's darker. But that's relevant to the rechar rather than red wine, I would say. And important to add at this point, we don't colour or caramel anything. We don't chill filter anything either. Probably obvious things to clarify, but it's just good to know. So this is our STR cask. So bourbon matured for at least 5 years in this example, and then re-wrapped into the STR casks for about 9 months there or thereabouts. Karen's finding some nutty notes. I'll tell you if I agree. From what I remember, there is a slight nuttiness to it. This is the whiskey I drink when my children have been really good and my partner's gone out for dinner and I'm sat on my own and I've got a book. This is a whiskey that I can take a bit of time with. The Moscatel's the whiskey that I drink if I want to drink too much whiskey because it's honeyed and it's sweet and I can drink too much of it, whereas the STR takes a bit more to appreciate. So for me, on the nose, there's loads of toast and loads of caramel. Big caramel toasty hit up front. That's the rechar. That's the recharred oak. I've often described this as like the flagship's older brother. It's just got that. It's almost like using new oak. It's almost like bourbony. It's got that big caramelly hit up front. And then on the palate, good question, Ian. I'll answer that in a second. On the palate, there's that caramel again. I think there's a bit of nuttiness. It's like a darker nut, though. It's not like an almondy. It's more of a, I don't know, like a macadamia style, like heavier, almost like Nutella-y nuts, like chocolate. And then right at the end, right at the back of the palate, there's a little bit of berries, a little bit of raspberry. There's a pepperiness to it as well, which I quite like. It's just moreish. It's just yummy. Ian, excuse your ignorance, but is STR to save money on casks, or is it to affect the final taste? It's not to save money on casks. They're more expensive than bourbon casks, as far as I'm aware. It's to affect the flavour of the whiskey. Yeah, it's a process to improve red wine casks for whiskey maturation. You're getting the best out of the red wine, but you're also getting that lovely reach out at the start. It's a process that we do specifically to increase the ability of red wine casks to mature whiskey effectively. I hope that answers the question, but it's definitely not a cost-saving thing, unfortunately. I'll tell you, we're as tight as they come here, but no, it's not. They're no cheaper.
I think that the fact that you have to have the cask and then get somebody to shave it and rechar it, and it's all manual. Mm-hmm. It's going to be more expensive at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Rather than just buy, here's a Rioja cask, let's just fill it with our spirit and see what happens. But shave it, toast it, and rechar it takes time. It does refresh the cask, of course. And then that's the whole point of doing it. It gives it that boost, I suppose. A wee charge to the flavours of the whiskey.
I think, I mean, I've drank some drank the Arran red wine casks, delicious, obviously dark red, beautiful.
Yeah,
one of the first.
They're Amarone.
Yeah, they are. You're right, they're Amarone.
Yeah,
I always get them confused with Lechec, because the Lechec is it Hermitage or is that Rioja?
Yeah, Hermitage, I think.
Yeah, so with a heavily peated spirit, like in Lechec's example, I think you can get away with these big tannic red wine casks because the tannins and the peat just kind of
sort of marry each other.
Yeah, they kind of knock each other out a little bit, perhaps. But I think with a light, fruity, floral spirit, I think you need to shave and rechar so that the tannin doesn't overpower that spirit. You know, that's the main objective there. Yeah, where do we get the casks from? As in which Rioja house? I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that question. What I can tell you is that they're all sourced from Jose Martin Miguel, who's got a lot of relationships with a lot of Rioja producers and a lot of sherry producers and bodegas and all the rest. So no, I don't know. That's why we call them STR casks. The most common so far.
We were lucky to meet him one year when we went over to Spain. And we were having dinner with him, with another group of people. He had his phone out and he had every distillery manager's phone on his. He said, "Name a distillery, guys. Name a distillery, whatever." Yep. He's in my phone. He's in my phone. Incredible. What a great guy! What a great guy he was. And he showed us all the staves outside, and all the ages of the staves, how they were drying out, and how that affected the wood, and then obviously saw them in getting the cask being recharred, like in the afternoon when they should have been having a siesta. They asked these guys to work on for our group to go in. I don't think the guys were very happy because it was the heat of the day. They'd already done the 6 hours and they were working at the highest temperature outside at the time. And then they had to recharge the cask with this big flamethrower coming out the centre of the floor. and we were doing that as well. But yeah, he's a remarkable guy. He knows everybody.
Yeah, he's well. I can't say I bet him, but David and Tom and Joe speak really well of him. Joe's got a trip booked out there this year, and I'm hoping to try and find some excuse to piggyback on it. I mean, at the moment, I've actually got no reason to get out into Rioja, but it would be great too, wouldn't it? You know, in a former life, wine was something I enjoyed as much as whiskey, and so yeah, it'd be great to get out there and visit them. But yeah, the STR is just class. And importantly, God, big news, we got an IWSC Gold for this one this year. So the first ever IWSC Gold we've ever got was this year's STR, Batch 4. So gold at the spirits business, gold at the IWSC for this one. So really happy with that, yeah.
You maybe better explain what IWSC is to a lot of people. We know what it is, but...
International Wine and Spirits Competition.
Yep.
And importantly, regards the medals and what we've won, we don't put our whiskies into anything that's like a sponsorship based reward thing. It's only ever whiskies where it's blindly tasted in whatever category. So I think this is a non-age statement finish. I think it's a non-age statement finish, non-Scotch importantly. But yeah, we don't pay for medals, let's say that. Everything we do is with things where people have tasted it blindly.
I think the main thing is what you've said is they're tasted blind. Within their own category, within age groups, etc. They're tasted blind, so the judges from all over the world taste your products. They have no idea what they're tasting, but then, as you say, they can give them points at 100, etc., and average the points out and narrow it down. So to get any reward, bronze, silver, gold, it's pretty good stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really happy with it. Yeah, really happy with it. So, do we want to have a wee break, or do you want to We'll crack on.
No. We'll have a wee dram.
Yeah, nice, good. Good, let's power through. I'm good.
When
you're on a roll and you've got a taste, it's really annoying at this point to stop.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one.
Cool. Okay, cool. I just want to double check I'm getting the order right. Are we on the peated finish at this stage?
No.
Are we on the porter cask?
We're on the porter cask.
Yeah, cool. That's the order I assumed I'd do it, and we'll do the peated finish next because the porter's just got a little bit more delicacy to it, and I don't want to overpower it with the peat. But the last two after that are big bombs, so we can get away with that. So yeah, porter cask. So this was this spring's special release. I'll pop the bottle up there, but you can see it. You can see it on the screen. Discard that. We produce porter. So one of the beers we make is called Marmalade Porter. It's actually, in history, I used to run a pub in York called the Whippet Inn, and the Whippet Inn is a steak restaurant focusing on British local produce. And I had for 3 years there Walltop Brewery rotating between a spring release, so for the summer and late or early autumn, I had a light beer, either their bitter or Scarborough Fair, and in the winter I'd almost always have either Headland Red or the Marmalade Porter. So what we're doing in this example is very similar to the IPA finish, but with slight differences. So first of all, the beer is being matured for 15 months. So it's a dark marmalade-y porter, and it goes into ex-sherry barrels that we've used for previous sherry matured whiskies and ex-flagship barrels. So from a beer maturation perspective, you're going to get more of the flavours you'd expect from sherry, dried fruits, raisins, toffee, etc. And so and the beer's matured for longer as well. One point to clarify in both this and the IPA finish is we have to rinse the casks of whiskey before we can fill them with beer, because otherwise we're fortifying the beer, and that's a completely different license. That being said, there's still teeming with flavour, these casks, because obviously the whiskey's been sat in there for a long time. So the beer's been in there for 15 months. And again, similarly to the IPA, within 2 hours of emptying the casks of beer, we can refill them with older bourbon matured whiskey, which is where they're sitting for, I believe, 9 months this time. So it's a much longer finishing process in these lovely, dark, rich porter casks. And this is what came out. Now, what comes out is, well, 50. So when we fill at 63.5, and often when we re-rack, we've cut slightly just to reduce the ABV. So in this example, we chose to bottle at 50% rather than 46, which is what we've done with everything else. And there's a few reasons there. I think with a porter cask, thinking about Guinness, for example, you expect dark, bitter coffee flavour. And when we tasted this, that's not what we found. We found like chocolate, but milk chocolate, like Nesquik, milkshakey chocolate, and then like an orange. There's an orange in it as well as like minstrels, bags of minstrels, and you get the Maltesers and the buttons and all the different ones in there, and occasionally you get the orange one. It's a bit like that on the nose. And so we agreed that we'd bottle it at 50% because we wanted to keep that flavour. We don't ever want to disguise what our whiskey tastes like. We've got, as I've said earlier, we've got nowhere to hide. All we can tell you is what we do. But with the porter cask, we decided to bottle at 50% strength rather than 46%, just to help those chocolate flavours come through a little bit more than if we cut to 46. We discussed whether or not this is dark enough for something that people expect to be dark. But actually, this is what a whiskey tastes like or looks like when it's been in porter casks for 9 months. So we released it at this. We just chose to bottle it at 50% rather than 46 as we tasted with everything else.
I really like this one. It's different.
Yeah.
I think when we first tried the range, and I think Johnny and Callum were there as well.
Yeah, they were.
Christine was there, but we tried, and we all looked at each other when it came to the porter and went, "Woofed, that's different." And is that a limited one as well?
Yeah. So I had to go. There's not a lot of retailers who I'll go, look, I'll find you some.
Yeah, you did find us some, I have to say, because when he said, the funniest thing was, you can taste it, but we don't have any. And well, okay then, cheers, mate, cheers. And then, then I think he saw our reaction, going, "Hey, that's pretty good." And you went, "Yeah, I might get a case. I could mind. Maybe I couldn't get you a case, maybe 2, but we'll wait and see." And you did get us a case of it, but yeah, it's totally different. Love it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good.
Well, I mean, it's a funny thing, the world of allocation and secondary markets and hard to find and rarity and all of that stuff. It's an interesting thing, but in all fact, when we produce a special release, we make 2,000 bottles of it, and the format is that half of that stays here in our distillery shop. A small amount of it goes onto the website, but the majority of it is a treat for the people who've made the effort to visit our distillery. 500 bottles of those 2,000 go overseas. Yeah, agree, John. I was going to say, sorry to interrupt myself there, but a top of water to this really opens up that orangey chocolatiness. In fact, I'm going to replicate that. So 500 bottles stay. 1,000 bottles stay here, 500 bottles go overseas, go into international markets, and then 500 bottles stay with me in the UK. So, I've got something like, well, it varies day to day, 350, 400 different customers in the UK. And my primary choice with these sort of releases is independent specialists who can pour and do my job for me with their customers, So it is fully allocated. I get 83 cases odd, and I have to kind of divvy it up. It's weird. But the thing is I can always knock on Claire's door, who runs a distillery shop here, and say, "Listen, mate, it sounds like we're going to be able to sell to TB Watson's, and I'd really like to get this sorted. Can I just nick a couple of cases from you, please?" So that's pretty much what happens in this example. The last whiskey we're tasting this evening is a similar format that's released in November, and because it's got the word sherry cask in it, it sells like hotcakes. And it's I mean, I've been looking after UK trade pretty much independently, with obviously with the support of the team around me in tastings, and as you know, you've met half of them now, Brian. But the allocation part of some of our special release whiskies is becoming quite difficult, actually. Like, last year we'd sold out a Sherry Cask Reserve. We released it in November. We were sold out by the second week of December. That was all 1,000 bottles in our distillery shop had gone too. And I'm like, wow. And the same with the Porter this year. And I suspect the same with the Sherry Cask as well. So it's a good problem to have, certainly. But it used to be like, we've got a new batch of something, and I'll allocate the whole lot. And whereas now with the special release whiskies, it's like, oh God, another allocation, another whiskey that I've got to try and appease everybody with.
Keep everybody happy.
Yeah, and you've got to, and I'm not one for twisting people's arms really either. Like, my preference is businesses who talk about whiskey and pour whiskey for people and care about whiskey get a hold of this, but. You've got to try and keep everybody happy, and that's from. So it's one of them things, yeah. But it's delicious. I hope everybody agrees. I think it's a delicious whiskey.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a great whiskey.
Particularly with a bit of water. That's a very good shout, John.
I think we'll just have a touch. We'll see.
It just completely changes it. And that chocolate milkshake at the end is there. Like, when Joe tasted this, he said, Nesquik cereal. He said, when you've had Nesquik cereal when you're a kid and the milk that remains. And I've never not thought about it since, but Revels, that's the one. Did I say Minstrels? I meant Revels. Thank you for that clarification, Jim. Yeah, Revels are the ones with the variables, whereas Minstrels are all the same. Yeah, it's the Revels that this tastes like. It's got the slight oranginess. If you were to just pour 3 or 4 different Revels into your mouth, I think you get that with the Porter cask. Yeah, it's good.
So, have you ever done a natural cask strength whiskey? They're all 46 or 55 or 50. Have you actually done a cask strength one?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, Cadenhead's released one on the 11th. We've done. I don't want to say necessarily about 8. We've done 1. Now we've done 4 single casks, 5 single casks through trade. So the first one was to celebrate Booth's 175th anniversary, and then we did Berry Brothers and Rudd. We were the first. Good moment for me. For the first ever English whiskey that they bottled was us. And then Adelphi, again, massive. Like, I mean, I literally had to pull over on the M62 for the Adelphi bottling, and I'm good friends with Graham. I'm good friends with Graham and Connell and the team, and I'm like refreshing the page like Glastonbury tickets trying to get hold of a bottle. And then it was the Whiskey Show bottling this year, which was an IPA finish, but it was a single cask. I can't tell you exactly the cask strength of that, but it was full term, cask strength. And then Cadenhead's on the 11th, which was a Fino Hogshead, which Grant and Cam came to the distillery to pick. So we've been quite selective with single casks. We've got a very hungry audience here, not just around Yorkshire, but obviously predominantly in Yorkshire, who've bought bottles of everything since the beginning, who we're very grateful for and have done wonders for us. But they're hungry. They're a hungry bunch. So whenever we do the single casks, if it's direct to consumer, then it's been balloted entirely. And when we've sold it through trade, it's been 4 or 5 minutes and it's gone. We are discussing other things in the future, including one potentially for independent specialists solely, which is something in the long term I'd like to get over the line. It'd be quite nice. But yeah, in answer to your question, simple answer to your question, Brian, yes, we have done single cask bottlings previously.
Yeah, but it's for individual companies, not for yourself selling them to the public, as you've just said.
No, we have sold 2 or 3 to public ourselves, but it's they come, they're so quickly that it's balloted, and you join a list and your name's drawn from a hat, and then you've got a certain window to buy it, and that's how it's had to work so far. We haven't done that this year. because we've had a couple have come through from, for example, Cadenheads. So we don't want to overshadow that really. But yeah, we have done a few direct and we've done a few through trade. But we're very careful with what, where and when, because, you know, it's
that's
about...
good though. That's good that you've got the initial demand and it sells out quickly. So everybody's looking out for it. Something special.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it is something special. We haven't got a lot of them, particularly when you talk about sherry casks, you know. It's a very small amount of the casks that we've got filled that are 6 years plus, that are full-term sherry matured. And they are little gems of history in our history as a distillery. So we've got to treat them with a lot of respect, you know. So yeah, getting Joe to release them to us is the hard bit, you know. You've got to twist his arm, twist it behind his back sometimes.
Well, we'll have the privilege of Joe coming to Dumfries next week.
Yes, you do indeed. Yeah,
absolutely.
He's good. He's good fun. He's good.
He's a vast of knowledge. It's incredible.
Yeah.
For somebody his age, and the enthusiasm that he has about the product and the stills and distillation and everything, it's incredible. So. Yeah, it'll be great for him to come along and tell the story, and just as you've done, and then go into maybe a bit more detail with the distillation, etc. But
yeah,
it was just a joy to spend 3-4 hours with him when we were down. It was great.
Well, again, without blowing too much smoke, you know, he's absolutely incredible, Joe. He's wonderful to work with. I've learned so much for him in the 4 years, and the standard he expects of the people he works with, as all of us, we all work very hard, but is really phenomenal, actually. But one thing he's not great for is timing. He's often, I was understand. Filey Bay is owned by people who farm barley and have a brewery. Do you also do the maltings as well? No, we don't. The malting's done in Bridlington at Muntons. It's about 10 minutes drive that way along the coast. Bridlington's the next seaside resort below Filey. We've been selling them barley since the Second World War, and they do it better than us. So the malting's done by them to our specification, and the malting floor's cleared to ensure that it's our barley that goes in and our malt that returns to us to make whiskey. Donna Pass. I love saying your name.
I know, it's great, isn't it?
But what I was saying about Joe is he's a late dude quite a lot. He's often late, and he often doesn't answer the phone and things. But when I said you guys are in Yorkshire, he emailed back within 2 minutes. You know, and when I said I'm doing a tasting with you next week, he said I'm doing it, and I went, all right, cool. You know, so
it was great. It was great when we saw that you went, oh, Joe maybe Joe would come, and then you went, oh, Joe is coming, and I thought, oh, well done. That's a feather in our cap.
Yeah, well, it's a feather in ours. Again, I'll stop being so sweet and delightful about everything, but it's a feather in ours. So I think Joe wants to come and celebrate that wherever he can. So that's great.
Yeah, good.
He's good fun. I've been to a few of his tastings before, and he's there's what he doesn't know about whiskey arguably isn't worth knowing, and what he doesn't know about us doesn't exist. So you know. Yeah. Are we cool to move on to the peated finish?
Certainly cool to do that. Yeah.
So, peated finish batch 3. I'll get it in the camera, Morgan. There you go. Cover your own face with it. So, we don't peat any barley here. Muntons could peat barley for us, but we don't want them to do that as yet because the peat would obviously be coming from the northwest of Scotland. And so what we're doing in this example, and I'm going to be a little tongue-in-cheek here, we're getting casks from an unnamed Islay distillery who are independently owned and talk about farming barley and release barley that release whiskey that they've farmed entirely themselves. Catch the drift, begins with a K, ends with Ilherman. We don't collaborate with them. It's not a collaboration. We've just bought their casks, and we've got a lot of time and admiration and respect for them. And obviously, Jim Swan was involved in both businesses, and there's a lot of relationship with regards to the barley farming of what we do and what they do. So we've got a lot of time for them. But it's not a collab. We might have different peated casks that we use in the future. In fact, I'm pretty confident we do have other peated casks in maturation. But this is a peated cask finish. It's not a peated whiskey. It's not a peated barley. It's not a peated spirit. all of the peat influence that's coming into this whiskey is thanks to the fact it spent about 6 months in ex-peated whiskey casks after bourbon maturation. So it's a similar distillate. Well, it's the same distillate. It's using some of this stuff that's through the pot and some of it's been rectified through the column. It's been matured in first of all bourbon casks, and then in the casks, when they're done with from a bourbon perspective, we rack the spirit into peated casks to add that, thank you, Ian, campfire, sweet peat flavours. Well, the sweetness, I would suggest, is down to the distillate. We create a light, fruity, floral distillate, and then we use the peated casks just to add the peat at the end with this whiskey. But it's there on the nose, actually, particularly after you've tasted, 5 unpeated whiskies. It's more prominent than it usually is for me, actually. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's no Lafroig, but it's there. You still get that bourbon on the nose. You still get the creamy, you get the vanilla and the fudge, the bourbon cask maturation, but then there's just that peat at the end. Way more on the palate. Dry, ashy. But there's almost like a green, like a chili pepper, but without the spice, if you know what I mean by that. It's got a dry, green pepperness to it, but without any chili heat, but just that kind of, what are you saying there, Ray? Sorry. This peaty whiskey is absolutely remarkable. Thank you. Nothing like an Islay, though, in a good way. Thank you. Yeah, well, it's not. It's using Islay casks, of course, which is another nod to the Scots. We don't do the whole English versus Scottish rubbish. We admire, respect, and are thankful for the Scots. Without them, we wouldn't be here. So, yeah, it's not an Islay whiskey, and it's not like an Islay whiskey. It's our whiskey, and it's matured in Islay whiskey casks. So that's where that little bit of smokiness comes from. Again, this got, I don't know if this batch, actually, I think it was batch 2 that got a Master's Medal at the Spirits Business Awards. So yeah, it's getting a lot of recognition for what it is as well. For me, it's an interesting thing, because if you're a massive peat head and you just want something that's going to be super smoky to finish the night, this is maybe going to be a bit underwhelming. But for me, the peated finish ticks boxes for those who want something with a little bit of that peat heat, perhaps like a Ben Romack, or others. There's other whiskies that have got that light peatiness to it. I'm sure Brian and Karen could name more than a few. But yeah, for me, it's just got that little bit of peat, so it's still quite accessible, which is that accessible word again. The idea of it's just quite a tasty, light, fruity whiskey, and then you just get that little bit of peat smoke toward the end.
Yeah, I think if like me, and all the Whisky Club members know and the Dram Busters know that I'm not a peat freak. I don't like the heavily peated whiskies, but something like this that's finished in a cask that gives a hint of smokiness and peatiness and that campfire sort of smoke, rather than the heavy, deep iodine, TCP style of peated whiskey. That's not for me. This is, because it's, as you said, it's totally different.
Yeah,
It's
I think
a nice finish to it.
Yeah, I think it just adds an extra dimension to our whiskey style.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong; it'd be amazing to use a small amount of peated barley in our mashing, and it'd be cool to make a full peated spirit and then marry them up together and all of that stuff. That's cool, and I love that world. But for us, we're field to bottle producers. We farm our own barley entirely and through, and so. And the barley's from our farm, and the water's from our farm, and the glasses from Leeds, and the boxes from Leeds. It just seems a little bit silly to be getting peat shipped down from the north of Scotland to peat the barley.
Yeah.
So instead, absolutely. We just use the finishing process. But I think it adds an extra element to the whiskey, and I quite like that. I'm not too into the silly. I mean, a reference I'll often describe to people who maybe aren't that qualified in whiskey, but sometimes with peat it becomes the hottest curry on the menu, and it just like I want sticking with that analogy. I want to taste lemongrass. I want to taste coconut. I want to taste chili, but I don't just want to taste chili. I don't just want to bite the chili, And for me, don't get me wrong, this is closer to a tikka masala than it is a vindaloo. But
You know what? That's Gary. Aye, absolutely. I totally agree. I've never had that, and that's a good comparison. Actually, I think I might use that when
well, you're
talking
welcome
about
to it.
peated whiskies, comparing them to vindaloos and various other things and kurmas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's great. Aye, that's a great.
I just think
great
it just adds a
comparison.
little bit of something extra to it, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, shall we do the video of the warehouse before we move into the big special release stuff?
Yeah, that would give us time. If we can, because
Right, this is where it doesn't work.
Clark, Whisky Director at Spirit of Yorkshire Distillery, and we're having a quick look around our warehouse. Going to show you guys some of the different types of casks that we've been filling over the last 8 years that we've been in production here. So if you come with me, we'll have a quick look around. The main cask that we fill is the first fill bourbon barrel, and these are absolutely crucial to our house style and distillery character. So most of our range is built around whiskey matured in first fill bourbon, of course, flagship, entirely matured in first fill bourbon casks, and then our finishes are all matured in first fill bourbon to some degree. So really, really important cask for us, and it's identifiable by its size. And we've got an example here just on the floor where I've put one next to another type of cask, so you can see the size difference here. So first fill bourbon barrel holds 200 litres. These held bourbon, in this case in Kentucky, for 5 years before the bourbon was emptied out, and then the casks were shipped to us whole. We've then filled them with spirit. So after first fill bourbon, kind of moving up in terms of size, we have what we call barriques. So we've got some here. So you can see again the difference in size on the head of the cask. And again on the floor compared to the bourbon cask here, again you can see it's slightly wider. It's just a slightly bigger cask. Not by much, believe it or not. That is a capacity of 220 litres versus the bourbon cask at 200. Bearing in mind these are approximates, you know, you might get 190 litres, 195 in some bourbon, might get 225 in the barrique. You know, so, you know, 200 for the bourbon, 220 for the barriques. And the next size after that we fill is hogsheads, and these are normally sherry hogsheads. So we've got an example of those here. You can see we're getting quite a bit bigger now. So the sherry hogshead, really, really beautiful, beautiful casks from Spain. Now, the supplier of these casks that we work with is one of the very, very best in the industry. We've been working with this supplier, which is Miguel Martin, since we started. So the very first sherry casks we filled were from Miguel. And going forward, we're getting plenty more of these really fantastic casks from him. So if you look at the end of the cask compared to the bourbon, quite a bit of difference in size and a big difference in volume. We're talking 250 litre capacity, but it's not unusual for us to sometimes reach into 260 litres in these hogsheads. So it is a really, really kind of beautiful sherry cask and an example of a very traditional type of cask. The hogshead cask, been in the industry for a very, very long time. We've got Oloroso hogsheads, Pedro Jimenez sherry hogsheads, we've got Fino sherry hogsheads, we've also got Madeira as well, amongst a few other interesting types of sherry that are in this warehouse. And behind me, there's a lot of casks here. We're talking 4,500 casks in this warehouse. So yeah, nice variety of flavour in there. So we've done bourbon barrels, we've done barriques, and we've done sherry hogsheads. That leaves one size of cask left that we fill, which is the sherry butts. And we don't fill a lot of these, and we never have. They are big, big casks. We're talking 500 litre capacity in these, and they're not easy to move around, and wow, are they expensive. And you know, we've got a very small number of sherry butts, and they really are some of our most precious casks. Some of our very rarest whiskey is from these casks. So, you know, we are very, 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 very fond of them when it comes to the whiskey that we get out of these casks, but we are not fond on moving them. Really quite heavy and massive. So to quickly recap again, we've got bourbon barrels, barriques, sherry hogsheads, and sherry butts. And yeah, these are the main casks that we're filling.
There you go. If you flick me back on, please, Karen. I hope that was informative for everybody. I'll move straight on to the next dram without having to pull you in again, Brian. So this is our Yorkshire Day. So I hope that was informative for everybody with regard to the warehouse. Are you there? Are you all good?
Yeah, absolutely fine. I was just sitting in the car, and that was when we were talking. Like David was with us at the time when we went through the Joe, and I was talking about when most of the warehouses, the casks are on their ends, lying down, but your casks are standing up.
Yeah.
So I said to David, is there any difference to it? He went, no, Jim Swan said, no difference really at the end of the day, how you store your cask lying down or on their ends, as it is. Basically, there was no difference to maturation or anything. It's just quite unusual to see a warehouse where the casks are standing up.
Yeah, sorry, I just thought I could hear something outside there. Jim Swan said that. I think it's more of a feasibility thing for us. It's more to do with storage. Yeah, I think I asked Joe this question, and as far as I understand, as far as everybody else has told me, it doesn't make any difference. It's just it says we can palletize them. We can put 3 casks on a pallet and we can stack them 4 high in the warehouse. So as Joe mentioned, 4.5, rather than being on the side. I don't know if it makes much difference. I think it's just easier from a storage perspective, to be honest. Yeah. So the Yorkshire Day.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
This is our distillery exclusive. So this is a combination of 4 cask styles. So it's mainly full-term STR. It's also got some Madeira. It's got some sherry. And it's got some new oak in it. But 70% of it is STR full-term, all over 6 years old. And this is bottled at 55%, so this does take water well. We bottle it at 55% because it's what we've always done historically. And this is a distillery exclusive, meaning you can only buy it if you come and visit us. And it's a nice chance to pull and plug the tours. We run distillery tours 3 times a day, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock, up to 12 people, generally very busy through the summer, less so now we're coming out of the busy period. And yeah, if you come to the distillery, we've got a small amount of this remaining. We make 1,500 bottles of it. We put a small amount on the website from time to time, but the majority of the time it's solely on our distillery shelves. So this is our Yorkshire Day 2024, released on the 1st of August every year, which is Yorkshire Day. Our open weekend is the last weekend of July, and then we launch this weekend. So it gives the people who come to visit us, where we have a load of local producers, we have demonstrations, we have straight drawn from the cask tastings. It's pretty cool. And this is when this whiskey's launched, and it's just a celebration of some of our older cask styles and some of our less usual cask styles. It's a chance for Joe to flex his guns a little bit, to put it in other words. And on the nose, it's got that cream soda straight away, like big cream soda hit. But there's some fruit afterwards. There's some dried fruits. There's some toffee and there's some raisin. That's from the Madeira. And then there's that new oak coming through as well, that heavy char. Almost rye-like. Any thoughts from anybody? Feel free to pop a note in. I would recommend trying neat and then trying it with water for sure.
Well, the first thing's the colour.
Yeah.
Compared to the previous 6. I mean, obviously, I knew that when we were doing the kits. I went, look, these last 2 are different. You can see the
sweet and sour. That's an interesting one. Yeah, the darkness, STR, Madeira, and sherry. My favourite so far. It's almost like the best bits from all the previous whiskies. Yeah, well, it's a combination of different styles. Yeah, I think that's a valid point. No peat. That's the only thing it ain't got. I don't think it needs it, to be honest.
Or is it the 55% that makes it nice?
It's got that heat, hasn't it? Yeah.
So is every release different for Yorkshire Day? It's not the
Yeah.
same combination of casks and things. So.
Yeah, it's always a Jim. Nothing needs Pete. It's always going to be a different combination. It's always something that it's actually quite a difficult position for us to be in because every year we've got to do something better than the last one. So yeah, from a got to test me with all the different releases we've done. I think last year was full term bourbon and full term Madeira solely, I think, with maybe a bit of finishing stock in there as well. The year before, there's always some sherry in there. There's always some older sherry stock in there. But it's one of those. To be honest, every year Joe gets a little more and more secretive with the actual what's gone into this. Like he kind of describes it vaguely to us. Like he likes to leave this one a bit more mysterious. And we really want to prioritise with this. It was actually me. Well, the objective with Yorkshire Day was always going to be a distillery exclusive, but during the pandemic, we obviously couldn't do a distillery exclusive whiskey, so this went through trade for 2 years. And then when I came along in 2021, I said, look, we need a distillery exclusive whiskey. Like, I wasn't familiar with the industry, but I did think it was nice. It's commercially viable, but it's nice to reward those who've made the effort to come and visit us, So that's where this sits. Don't get me wrong, when we do tastings, when we're out and about, particularly around launch, loads of people around here want me to come and do tastings for them, and we'll taste it and we'll bring it along for that tasting solely. But beyond that, the rest of it sits in the distillery, and it's a way to kind of, as I say, reward those who make the effort to come and visit us.
Yeah, there's a lot of distilleries that do the same thing. They have their own exclusive whiskies. And you say you do the tour, pay your price, you made the effort, come along. And if you want something different that nobody else has, then do you do any? I don't think you do. That you can fill your own cask at the distillery.
No, it's something we've discussed and toyed with as a concept, but nothing. We've never done anything.
I mean, that's pretty cool. I've been to a few distilleries where you can fill your own cask, get the label, put the date on, put your name on it. It's all handwritten, apart from your name and the date, and it's all there in a wooden sort of thing to put on it. So
the weights and measures. It was the weights and measures thing that put us off it. We didn't know quite what to how that works and the ins and outs of that.
Yeah, I suppose you'd have to look into it, but that's just another option. How many bottles did you say were bottled?
1,500.
Well, that's not a lot.
No, not a lot at all. No,
Not
we try to drag it out. So we try to not. We put a little bit on the website, and then the rest we put it on the website time to time. But the majority of the time it stays in the distillery. We try to keep it from August to August, but it's just a bit of a balancing. There's a bit of a balancing act there,
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it's a great whiskey, and it's good to have something that's forever available in here that we can celebrate. Any thoughts? Any feedback from anyone? I thought, are we just dramming and enjoying, and maybe it's the latter? Any questions? Has anybody had any questions about anything we've talked about so far? Does anybody want to put anything up? Anything that anyone's interested in? Feel free.
Yep, I'm sure they'll come back to us.
A big blunderbuss bruiser. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a big boy. Yeah. A big. I still think you get the distillate style, but it's quite oak forward, and it's a bit of a bruiser. Yeah, it's a good whiskey. It's a last dram of the night whiskey, unless you've got something that's coming afterwards that's more sherried and bigger still. Maybe not quite as fierce on the ABV, but just as much sherry influence. I guess if we're all happy to move on to the last dram, Brian, are you okay with the last dram?
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving through quite onto
it.
And I'll show you. This is the one that we haven't got a label image for or a bottle image for, and I'll show you that genuinely this is where we're at with this one. This is a sample bottle for me, if I can see that there.
Yeah, but just pull it back just a little bit. Yeah,
you see that
a bit closer. That's about it. Yeah,
You probably can't see it. Bottled. This was bottled yesterday, 17th to 10th, 2024, 46%, 700 ml. So this has been in marrying tanks for about 5 days now. Very good, quite complex until a drop of water opens it up. Yeah. So the Sherry Cask Reserve number 5. Sherry Cask is our winter special release. This is the 5th. In this example, it's all being cut.
8 now.
We good? Whiskey number, whiskey number 8, Sherry Cask Reserve, number 5. So this is full-term Pedro Jimenez casks and full-term Moscatel casks. A long way to travel for a dram. Yeah, there's lots to it though. You need to ask Brian about that. There's a beautiful coast over there. There's an amazing view of puffins and gannets at Bempton Cliffs. Hence, we've got a gannet on the bottle here. The best fish and chips in Yorkshire, the best breakfast in Yorkshire in the cafe. There's a brewery 2.5 miles away. It's pretty good. We've got a little bit of a bias there, but it's pretty good, John. Yeah, I'd recommend it. And Yorkshire as a whole is a beautiful part of the UK. I'd strongly recommend it as a visit. But then I'm a proud Yorkshireman, so what do you expect? Sherry Cask Reserve is Moscatel and Pedro Jimenez casks solely. It's available from mid-November. Now, we've got a pretty solid date on that, but I don't want to give you it exactly just in case something goes wrong. It's currently in a marrying tank there, just doing its thing. It's, I think, now down to 46%, but we need to leave it a few weeks. So there, yeah, this is a pre-release. You are, in fact, the first members of the public to taste it, truly. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm going to give this one a little top 2. Two and a half hours from Dumfries on a good day. Depends on the weather. On the nose, it's just sherry heaven, isn't it? It's got that dried fruit. Depends how you try. Yes, correct. Dried fruit, toffee, raisins. You get a bit of that sweet Moscatel honeyness as well, which is quite nice. And not as, well, less usual, let's say. Just a fireside whiskey. Thank you, Donna Pass. Yeah, got the first and second releases. Good for you. Hope you've continued to buy. There's a brilliant specialist in Dumfries you can buy the rest of them for as well. I think the thing with the first release, it's silly money on auction now. But our whiskey's meant to be drank. There's a lot of collectors out there, and which we're grateful for. And it's it's part of the world of whiskey. But it's also good to drink it, and that's part and parcel of. I've done a few whiskey shows in our local area. I do the York Whiskey Show every year. I'm actually not doing it this year, but I've done it every other. And the amount of people who go, yeah, I've got 2 bottles of everything. Can I taste them? And I'm like, have you not tasted them? No, we've never opened it. And you just think, God, I need more people to drink our whiskey because that's what it's made for, But I'm delighted that you've bought our whiskies before, and I'm delighted you visited us. And I'd absolutely request you to come again and see what's happened in the last few years, It's a beautiful part of the world. These are really good. Thanks for great hosting, especially the cool video. We really like how adventurous you are in comparison with other distillers. Thank you. Great variety of tastes, and see you in November. I'll look forward to seeing you in November, and if you come to me, I'll hopefully have something special I can pour for you then as well, something that you haven't tasted tonight. No promises, but I'll do my best. Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure for everyone who's attended this tasting. It's need a better bottle label though. Oh yeah, for this one, yes, yeah. We're working on it. We've got the designers cracking though. That's just what it looks like for the moment until we get the labels, get the label on. Yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you all. Brian, Karen, thank you for your help. Thanks for everybody for being on the call and listening in.
I think with this one is you have to order it. Now we do have it on our website. So if you go onto it, it's pre-orders, so we know how many we need to sell. So if you like this whiskey, please do order it now. We obviously don't have it, but we will keep a note of it. And next week, obviously, we've got the live tasting with Joe, and we'll say the same thing. Order it tonight so that then we can go back to yourself and say we need X, Y, Z cases, and then we can fulfill the order. So yes, it's unique to actually have a distillery to take 4 or 5 bottles out of a cask before they bottle it. To let us try it. I mean, that's great. That just shows you the step forward in a relationship that they're willing to let us be the first people in the UK in the world, actually, to try something that you've not bought commercially yet. It's coming, but that's great. But I'm just wondering how many people of the Dram Busters would be willing to come down and do a little trip down to Yorkshire.
Oh, well, that's an idea.
Yeah.
Like
Now I have to say you have to brace yourself. So
I'm ready.
I'm ready. You have to brace yourself. Dram Busters on tour. It's a different group of people.
That sounds good. Yeah, well, I mean,
and the fact you've got the brewery as well.
Exactly. Yeah, it's great. I've had a few trade tours. I've had a few local businesses. My partner owns a bar in York that's 9 years going now, and we've had her team over twice now, and we do the lot. If you guys were to come, no promises, but Joe has the keys to the keep, shall we say, and he's got the keys to everything. So we do the farm, we do the warehouse, we can do the stills, show you around this in the flesh. But yeah, it's seeing the brewery, seeing all the production and the detail of the productions too. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jim. Maybe something we can think of, and I don't know if is it doable to go down in a day, do the tour, do the brewery, then travel all the way back up 3 hours or so back to the place, or
it's a question for your driver, mate. Yeah, there's plenty to stay. There's an incredible pub round the corner from here called the Piebald Inn with accommodation. They do something like 80 pies or something, and they're all really good. I've had 5 different pies in this pub, and they've always been good. And it's got good ale. It's a good pub. So there's loads. You got loads. We can talk about that in the future, Brian.
We could. We could maybe do something. It's just something a bit different. Yeah.
We've got a company in carte blanche. A whiskey and a pie trip, exactly.
A pint, a dram, and a pie.
Yeah. Thank you, John.
There we go.
Thank you, John. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you, Ray, Jim, Mel. Thank you for the nice words there as well. Yeah, thank you. It's been great. It's been lovely talking to you all.
No, it's been super. And the fact that your distillation process is slightly different from other distilleries as well. It's great.
Well, we've got to put a stamp in there, haven't we? It's not farming your own barley's cool, but making tasty whiskey's better. So.
No, that's absolutely super. Thank you very much. For those of you that, maybe if you want to stay on and maybe come back to you in 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, lovely.
Okay?
Yeah.
Once we've done the raffle, and then we can have a wee chat. You can chill out for 10 minutes or so, and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, lovely. I'll go put these bottles away and tidy up a little bit.
Great.
John. Sorry, Brian. Lovely.
Right. Thank you very much. Cheers. Well, thank you everybody for participating. It's been great. We haven't had the uptake that we would normally do. We expected this, so it's about half of much as we thought we would do normally. So we'll just do the raffle now. If we can get Cam to come along. We have 4 raffle prizes tonight, so we'll do it. And I don't know of people who are interested. We've had a tasting tonight, whether you'd like to jump on board and do a wee tour to Filey Bay and do a wee tasting of the visit of the distillery and a couple of tastings and go to the brewery just 2.5 miles up the road. That's fantastic as well. That's something we can think about. Anyway, here we go. We've got 4 prizes. So I'll do the first one. Okay. 275. Whoever that lucky person is. Karen will now do the second one. 297. 322. And the last raffle prize. 239. So, congratulations to the 4 winners. Well done. Thank you everybody for participating. I hope you've enjoyed the whiskies. Do order them on our website. The offers are on to the 4th of November. We have the live one next week. And then our next tasting will be the Glenfarclas Family Cask one. Oh, very unique, very limited. Once in a lifetime to try these single cask family casks, as they call them. And I think it's going to be hosted by Peter Donnelly, director of Paul Roger. Will be doing with Louise. They'll be doing the Zoom, they'll be controlling it. So get in there quick if you're interested. Failing that, we'll see you guys on the 30th of November. But remember to keep the dates for January. The 24th, I think, is going to be the locally. The following week, the 31st, will be the online. And we do have, as I said before, a couple of distilleries wanting to do tastings for us in March and April. A lot of them, I'm sorry for the people who do not live close to the feast, but there's a lot of people, companies want to do the barrel tastings in the shop on a Saturday for people to come in. So we'll keep you informed of what we're doing. But most of all, thank you again for your support, for your time, and for joining us. On behalf of Karen and myself, thank you very much for participating in this evening, and we look forward to your orders coming in. So have a good weekend, folks. Apart from the weather, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.